From the tribe that dresses up their dead as if they're still alive, to the wives who light themselves on fire to mourn for their dead husbands, here are 10 of the creepiest funeral customs from around the world. Number 10. Dressing up the dead. The Toraja people of Indonesia have an extremely bizarre funerary custom that they practice on the island of Sulawesi. They treat their dead loved ones as if they were still alive. In this place, it's customary to treat the dead just like you might treat a very sick person. They feed the deceased, they keep corpses cozy in bed, and they keep them dressed in their best clothes. They do this, allowing their dead loved ones to live with them in their own house until it's time for them to have an elaborate funeral. But the funeral isn't where the strange custom ends. Once the dead person is buried inside of a tomb, they're visited regularly by their relatives. People will show up to change their clothes, to clean the corpse, and even remove the insects trying to eat their decaying flesh. The ritual is known as manene in the native language, which translates roughly to care of the ancestors. Both caring for the corpses and having a grand funeral are extremely important to the Toraja people. The funeral is so important that these people save their entire lives to afford as much extravagance as possible. Some burials go on for weeks at a time, celebrating the life of the deceased. And while this may seem strange to us, it's kind of romantic in a way. After all, they don't so much fear the dead as they embrace them, caring for people who have died years after people in Western societies would have just buried their loved ones in the ground. Number 9. Hanging coffins. The hanging coffins in the Philippines were put there by members of the Igorot tribe, who live in the mountainous northern region of the country. For centuries now, they've practiced the tradition of burying their dead loved ones in coffins which they nail to the sides of cliffs. Archaeologists and historians don't know exactly how long this has been happening, but it definitely predates the arrival of the Spanish in the Philippines. It goes back at least 2,000 years, which is nothing short of amazing because it's still happening to this day. The reason the tribe is so eager to bury their loved ones high up, seemingly on the side of mountains, is because they believe that if the body of a dead person is closer to the sky, they'll be closer to the ancestral spirits. The ancestors also fear being buried underneath the soil. They knew that eventually, water would flow into their coffins and the skeleton would start to rot. So the sides of the cliff seemed like the best option. The coffins used for this type of burial are typically very small, often with the corpse buried in the fetal position. This is another strange belief in which the Igorot tribesmen say everyone should leave the world the same way they entered it, curled up like a fetus. Number 8. Endocannibalism. Endocannibalism is a very ancient ritual in which the flesh of a dead family member or friend is eaten by those mourning for them. It's as if you showed up to a friend's funeral and everyone took a small bite out of them. It's one of the more disturbing funeral rituals practiced, though the purpose of the ritual is in the right place. Tribe members do this out of respect, also believing that if they eat enough of a dead person's meat, they'll absorb the wisdom held by the deceased. One such tribe that practiced cannibal funerals is in Papua New Guinea. They're called the Foray tribe, and they've passed down cannibalism over an unknown number of generations. To add a bit of extra gruesomeness to the ritual, they focused mostly on women and small children eating the flesh of dead adult males. And there were some really strange rules as well. A woman absolutely had to eat the brain of her brother or the hands of her brother-in-law. But these were hardly the only people on Earth to practice endocannibalism. The Wari tribe in the Amazon did it as a way to transform dead bodies into spirits. Only by eating the dead person's flesh could their soul be cycled back into the natural world by becoming food for wildlife once ingested and expelled. The anthropologist Beth Conklin says that the Wari tribe did this as a way to process their grief. Eating the flesh of their loved ones helped to quell sad or painful memories. What do you think of this ritual? Do you believe eating your loved one when they're dead gives you their wisdom? Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below, and if you're liking this video, be sure to hit the thumbs up and subscribe buttons if you haven't already. Number 7. Dancing with the dead. Back in 2017, there was a pretty major outbreak of the plague in Madagascar. Yes, the plague, as in the Black Death that killed a huge percentage of Europeans in medieval times. According to local officials, roughly 100 people died. But the plague outbreak may have been made significantly worse due to a bizarre funeral ritual that's been going on for centuries. In Malagasy, the local Madagascar language, the tradition is called famadihana. It translates to English roughly as dancing with the dead. The ritual involves exhuming dead bodies, wrapping them up in cloth, and then dancing with them before putting them back in their graves. They literally dig up dead people and have a dance party. This is obviously a huge safety issue, seeing as dead bodies are riddled with all kinds of nastiness. So if someone died from the plague and their body was exhumed and then passed around at a dance party, the bacteria that affected them in the first place could be passed around to everyone in the present. These ceremonies are meant to be a way to respect the dead, but in this case, they actually spread the plague. Number 6. Buried in a tree. 2,200 years ago, a group of Celts gave a very strange burial to a woman in what is today Zurich, Switzerland. They dressed her corpse in sheep's wool and a shawl and a sheepskin coat, and then they stuck her inside of a hollowed-out tree trunk and left her there. The dead woman was probably of some high status in society based on how fine her garments were. She was around 40 years old when she died and was decorated in a wide assortment of rich jewelry, from necklaces to bracelets and even a bronze belt chain with pendants. The grave of the woman was discovered in the city by construction workers. There was another grave found nearby, also dating back to the same time, but this one was of a male and not inside of a tree trunk. They lived during a time when much of Austria, Switzerland, and other parts of Western Europe were occupied by the Celts, who most famously lived on the British Isles. However, the Celts and their strange rituals were considered the enemy of Julius Caesar, and he put an end to their way of life by crushing them with his Roman Empire. As for why they buried people inside of tree trunks, or at least this one woman, nobody really knows. It could have been a bizarre funeral ritual, or it could have just been a random act with absolutely no meaning behind it. Number 5. Bird burials. In Tibet, it was tradition to take the body of a dead person, drag it to the top of a mountain somewhere, chop it into pieces, and then throw it all across the ground so that the vultures could come and eat the scraps. This kind of tradition is known as a sky burial, and it was also practiced in China and Mongolia. But this wasn't meant to disrespect the dead. Instead, it's a perfect example of one of the main Buddhist tenets, compassion. Because Buddhists believe in kindness toward all living animals, the idea was that since your body is completely worthless anyway, only used as a host for your spirit, other creatures may as well be nourished with your remains. They really saw the body as nothing but a shell, so it made sense to recycle it in the best way possible. Still, the inner workings of sky burials are a little more jarring to those who don't practice them. The corpse is put into a sitting position for 2 days. The necessary prayers are recited, and then the spine is broken so that the corpse can be folded and taken to the burial site. Family members usually accompany the corpse on the journey while beating drums and chanting. Once they get to the site, the body breakers burn juniper to get the attention of the vultures. They then remove the hair from the dead person, rip their limbs off with axes and sledgehammers, flay meat from the bones, and throw slices to the vultures, and continue on until there's nothing left except bones. Number 4. Underwater burials. There's a bizarre funeral ritual going on right now off the coast of Florida. Unseen beneath the waves is one of the largest man-made reefs in the world, originally inspired by the lost city of Atlantis. The reef here is actually a cemetery filled with creepy stone columns, statues of lions, and a lot of dead bodies. The reef opened as an underwater cemetery 40 feet, 12 meters beneath the surface, just off the coast of Key Biscayne. It was created by the Neptune Society, who have been providing funeral services since 1973. According to The Guardian, this was the first underwater mausoleum in the world. The ashes of the dead are buried in submerged plots, allowing people to sleep with the fishes forever. The cemetery currently has enough room to hold 125,000 burial plots. But getting to the cemetery itself is a bit of a hassle. If you want to visit one of your family members who are entombed here, you either need to take a boat, snorkel 3 miles, 4.8 kilometers off the coast, or strap on a scuba tank. Number 3. Zoroastrian funerals. Zoroastrianism is one of the oldest religions in the world that is still practiced today. It's about twice as old as Christianity, having been practiced for 4,000 years. It was the state religion for Persia until the Muslim conquests tried to stamp it out in the 7th century AD. The Persians who wanted to escape Muslim persecution fled to India, where the religion still holds power today. According to History.com, there are roughly 200,000 worshippers worldwide, and it's considered the minority religion in certain parts of Iran and India. One of the beliefs of Zoroastrians is that the moment a person stops breathing, their body has become impure. Death is considered to be the work of an evil entity called Angra Mainyu, while things of nature and the earth are pure works of God. Contaminating decaying matter with something like fire or water is sacrilege. So the people are unable to burn or bury their bodies as a rule of their religion. Instead, they create towers called dogma, or towers of silence, and lay the dead out to be exposed to the sun and consumed by birds. It's quite similar to the sky burial, except it's done for wholly different reasons. One of the only places where this is still practiced is in Mumbai, where more than half the Indian Zoroastrians live. Number 2. Burning wives. Sati is a banned funeral custom in India that you won't believe was ever practiced in the first place. This is an ancient Hindu tradition in which a widow was to throw herself onto the death pyre made for her deceased husband, thereby self-immolating. In other words, when a woman's husband was being cremated, it was the woman's duty as part of the funerary custom to throw herself on the fire and be burned along with him. Initially, this was considered a voluntary act that was courageous and somewhat romantic. Later, things took a very dark turn. It became less of a funerary custom and more of a forced sacrifice, what some people might actually call murder. The whole point behind sati was that a woman simply could not live without her husband. When the husband died, so did the marriage. But the only way for the marriage to end was for the woman to be a dutiful wife and follow him into the afterlife. It was once considered a great act of devotion. Later on, when it became a forced thing to do, it was basically like burning witches at the stake. It's been estimated that between the 15th and 18th century, as many as 1,000 widows were burned alive each year. And believe it or not, this custom only ended when the British colonized India and banned the practice in 1850. The British ordered that any Hindu priest who presided over a woman being burned alive was to be hanged. Number 1. Death beads. In Korea, there's an alternative to buying or cremating the dead. Instead of choosing one or the other, South Koreans are making beads out of their dead relatives. They take their ashes and turn them into shiny beads, either blue or pink or black. These beads are then kept on dishes or inside fancy glass containers as a more decorative way to keep dead loved ones nearby. This is not something that came from an ancient custom. It's a new thing, with the CEO of the death bead company, Bon Hyang, recently telling the Associated Press that he makes around 500 beads out of human remains per year. The process costs roughly $1,000, and with each year that goes by, it gets a little more popular. One of the reasons for this is that South Korea is running out of space to bury dead people. So instead of taking up space in an overcrowded cemetery, people can now turn the corpses of their loved ones into colorful beads and put them on the mantle. Thanks for watching. Which of these funeral customs is your favorite? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to hit subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and come back soon for more awesome content right here. See you next time.